Y'all know. What's up, my tokers, jokers, and smokers? Welcome back to another edition of Deliciously Dope's Daily Chronicles with ya boy, Chef Rodney 117 in the house. Yo, today is a phenomenal day to tune into the show, y'all. Let me tell you. My next guest has been professionally involved in the construction industry, consumer retail businesses, and just the cannabis industry for well over 20 years. You know, developing relations in the hemp cannabis, market and pre and post recreational legalization. She also assisted with the navigating of the regulatory framework, product search, research, development, and marketing in Canada. So she's already done the groundwork of everything that we need to learn about a little bit here as being, the Northern American neighbors, if you will. It's ridiculous because she founded Hemp Halo Company in 2016, which was featured in Entrepreneur Magazine as a focused insight influencer and a leader in cannabis industry. It's Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So now she has, she's recognized as a cannabis educator, advocate for cannabis and women's health and wellness, a speaker and a panel lecturer that's, attended numerous cannabis and hemp industry panels, forums, and events around the world. I mean, if that doesn't say it, who else? You can't define someone off of something that they've done, but what they're doing. Real talk, real talk. This woman is doing it all. And without any other further ado, I build a very hearty and grateful welcome to Miss KATHARINE Thomas. KATHARINE, how you doing this morning?
Hey, how's it going today, Rodney? And thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking the time for us real quick. You know what I'm saying? To say what's up. It's going good. I never want to waste my time when I get the moment with someone doing as much as you do. I know it's you have a busy schedule. It's your resume. Oh damn, you know what I mean? That's impressive. It's honestly something for a person that's entering the industry as myself to kind of look forward to as an entrepreneur, if you will, or an advocate. But I have to ask, because I've been wondering since we started talking, what got you into what you do today?
So there were a couple of reasons. I first started, I used cannabis all throughout my high school years, but in those times we were, potentially suspended from school or being arrested for just, smoking cannabis. And I never really took anything further than cannabis. I had no other drug use, no drinking, nothing. So cannabis was just a way for me just to adapt to life and activate my mind. So I call it being activated, so that we stay awake and we're aware of what's going on. We activate our minds and our bodies through our endocannabinoid system. So I started using cannabis treatment on my father when he first got prostate cancer. And he started using, some medicinal forms of cannabis as an alternative to the cancer. And, his cancer healed up, but he actually died from his immune system being so low from being on chemo. So, it actually healed his cancer, but his immune system just couldn't take it from the chemo. So that got me started. And then I really started putting hemp in my kids' diets very early on, because I knew it was just hemp alone was a natural protein for their brain, just for them to be, functional. Everyone needs just hemp in their brain alone, not even CBD or cannabinoids. But if you just took hemp protein every day, that your brain's already lacking that. So I started that, and then my dog really was so nervous all the time. I want to say about 7 years ago, I started looking into giving her cannabis medication because she had so much anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always treated myself pharma free. I've never used pharma meds. I've never even tried pharma meds. I've been prescribed a lot of pharma meds, but I've just never filled a prescription. A lot of women in my age category technically get hooked on opiates just from overprescribing. So, and then they turn to cannabis for help. So, I started a lot of my career working in the methadone clinics, trying to titrate people down from opioids and methadone down onto CBD or cannabis, as maybe not stopping the full use of treatment plan that they were on, but just titrating down from getting maybe like 10 pills a day down to 2, and using CBD in conjunction with their medical plan. That's essentially what I started, in this industry, was as a medical point. Rec wasn't legal federally in Canada then. So this was the only access besides the black market that was available for patients. So I'm glad that, we're federally legal here. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I thought America would be here with us by now.
And we thought so too. Let's face it. Let's kind of go off the beaten path real quick and talk about psychedelics. Okay. The reason I want to talk about that is because there is scientific proof. It's scientifically proven that microdosing mushrooms can and does get rid of anxiety. It resets the brain. And so a lot of those, the market of mushrooms is insane. Ann Arbor, locally here to me, Michigan, where Hash Bash was created, just decriminalized mushrooms. A lot of other states are doing the same. They're following suit because we're learning that, nature can heal us, believe it or not, and so we kind of owe it back to nature to kind of, plant hemp, because plant is part of, and I'm sure you know all about this, but phytoremediation is something that I've recently learned about and recently become obsessed with. Phytoremediation, I'm sure it means basically that the hemp plant and other plants as well, like sunflowers, can pull out the toxins and chemicals and all the bullshit that's been pumped into the ground and make the ground, good to grow again, is as little as what? I believe it's one harvest for the hemp?
Yeah, so it's technically one harvest. I'm working now with some ginseng farmers, because when you grow ginseng, you can only grow on that patch of land once, and then it has to be rotated for 9 years. You can no longer grow back ginseng at that acre of land. It has to take 9 years. With doing soil amendment with hemp, that then now lengthens, your process is now sped up. So if you can take that same acre that you couldn't use for 9 years, and now you can use it the next season by just alternating the hemp with that's the point, that it's more financially beneficial for the farmer if they don't have to wait 9 years to use an acre, because they're using hemp as a remediator. So we're talking about, yes, it pulls the toxins. What I try to recommend to farmers is grow an acre of, grow hemp no matter what. No matter what you're going to do, grow hemp one season just to remediate your soil, and then decide what you're going to do from there. If you're going to grow cannabis on an outdoor grow, I always recommend that growing a season of hemp for remediation is something that's recommended. So yeah, definitely soil remediation, but we can also talk about all the toxins in the air that are being pulled out from hemp. I mean, I'm trying to take a global initiative to grow 81 million hectares of hemp. That would actually restart our planet back to sustainability for the next generation. Because if we don't do something quickly and start getting the word out, we're going to definitely have problems with soil regeneration. We only have 60 years left on that. So 60 years is not a long time.
Oh, it's not. Not at all. I mean, especially when it's only 60 more harvests, which means, okay, let's say that you want to grow weed outside. You can only do it 60 more times before you can't grow anymore, man. That's what it really comes down to. So we're at that point where, we can't afford to fuck this up. Sorry, but we really can't. You know what I mean? We have to figure out, what to do and honestly, when to do it. I mean, I'm going to touch on something. So to your point about hectares, okay? 1 hectare equals about 2.74 acres, okay?
Correct.
That equals 722 tons of CO2 gas emissions per hectare, okay? industrial companies are not being paid. They're not paying attention to this. They don't care. They get slapped with these fines. They get slapped with this. They don't give a shit because they catch it back on the back end. They make more. They're not being held personally accountable from this. And without that, exactly, follow the money, y'all. Follow the money. And, it starts from the ground, the root of the actual problem. It's all of these. If we want to be able to heal ourselves and heal the earth, we need to look at this more intentionally. For example, B1 is a vitamin that we need to live. B1, do you know where it starts? The water.
Right.
In the oceans. It goes to the fish shit, all of that stuff. It's the earth. You know what I'm saying? It gets passed down. We're finding out that by the time that, we were able to pull this out, we're not getting the proper amount. You understand? And we need that. The
we're
earth needs that.
We're not getting the proper amount of anything, actually.
No.
We're not getting the proper amount of the one thing we're not getting the proper amount of is the choice and the decision on what you'd like to put into your healthcare plan and into your body. So me, I'm, again, pharma free for sure, never even have touched pharmaceuticals because of the risk of the addiction. And I've seen so many people go down that plight. And, again, that we put profits before people. I try to be socially responsible as much as possible with any company that I do work with. And so we always try to address social responsibility. And that means that the corporations who are taking the money need to put people first before their profits. And if you have that frame of mind in any business that you're doing, that you're actually putting people and the product and the quality over the quantity first, then you will start to have a profitable business, because that's why people will understand of the responsibility that you're showing. For my company, we like to be total seed to sale. Okay. Total accountability for everything that we have done. And that's another thing, accountability, right?
Yes.
Accountability.
Yes. Sorry, one more. Yeah, no, 100% I agree with you. I wish that you could actually take your model, your business model, and apply that to restaurants, especially right now.
Of course, for sure. Accountability, right? And you're in the food business. So I'm always I'm not in the food business at all. I have no culinary skills, and everyone who knows me knows that.
I got you covered.
Yeah, so I'm happy to talk to you. I've noticed a lot of food integration, with cannabis now, and so that's really upcoming, and I'm happy to see that we're not technically there yet. We're just we're not there. Well, are we getting there? We need to start putting more cannabis into our food so we can learn how to just put it into our everyday diet. And I don't think people make it part of their regular regimen the way they should right now.
Nope. I did that grilled chicken caprese last night.
Lovely.
Infused. Yeah, it was very rustic. It was, like I was telling you, it's simple. It's if people want a recipe for it, hit me up in the comments below. I'll definitely kick it to you. I would, like to do some some cooking videos, but it's a little difficult for me to do at this moment in time. But they are coming, y'all. But that's just it. I actually use all of the trim from the plants that I grow in my meals. I put them in my salads. When I make a fresh salad, I'll cut my own, romaine. Iceberg lettuce isn't real. Don't eat that. You know what I mean? It's having knowledge about food. Now, if I can spin off on a small little tangent there, I believe that if you're talking to a chef versus a foodie,
right?
Come on. Foodies are just people who know how to eat. Newsflash, kid. Everyone knows how to eat. Everyone has to eat in order to live. So exactly. So saying that you're a foodie, okay, you like to eat. Hang on, time out real quick. Go ahead and go back in my kitchen real quick and cook that steak for me and tell me how to do my job. Go ahead. I've spent 25 years studying how to put that steak in front of you and to locally source it and make it healthy for you and delicious. And you took 20 seconds and told me that I was wrong. We're not going to have this conversation anymore. Okay, what that leads me to is a couple of things. People need to understand that you're going to, the cost of everything is going up. So's your food. You understand? If you want it locally sourced, that steak that was normally $15 is now going to be closer to $30. But at the same time, it stimulates your local economy, so I would just shut up and do it. Okay?
Well, that brings me back to another point here is that we should be teaching farming at a very early age, and we're not doing so.
You're
this
not.
is going to cost you $30 as opposed, there is a food shortage coming, whether people want to believe that or not. I'm sorry to tell you, but I'm vamping up my garden space this year alone just to preserve for next year. There can't possibly not be a food shortage from what we've just encountered and what we went through. So, I do work with a partner of mine on a farm, and she owns the farm, and she has been growing. This will be her second year for vegetables and hemp. And she's aware of the food shortage, and she offers, workshops for people to actually come and learn how to farm and how to garden. I believe in the United States and in Canada, but especially in the United States, that farming, community gardens and farming should be taught from kindergarten up, how to grow.
100%.
Hunger is such an issue for anyone ever to be productive. And if we can eliminate some of that by showing kids how to grow some of their own vegetables and fruits and making it part of their everyday regimen, then that kind of eliminates the hunger issue. And it also, it helps. It doesn't eliminate, but it helps. Community gardens really help because everyone who's involved in it can eat from the garden. And we really have to get back to some of that. Like, we really need to get back to that.
Oh, it comes down to being, teaching and reaching, if you will, your local community. It's, here locally in Lansing, Michigan, and across the mid-Michigan area, there are a lot of, I've seen local communes and local co-ops and gardens popping up, especially inner city. I love seeing that. There was a local restaurant who, right down the road from their restaurant, they have their own garden and their food. And some people are like, well, it's really expensive. Yeah, because they're growing it right down the road. So if you want to know where it's coming from, it's right. We could show you the pig. You know what I mean? A lot of people aren't ready for that conversation. A lot of people aren't ready, to understand that, listen, this is going to get worse before it gets better if we don't do something about it.
We don't pay attention. We could do it if we work together. But I was waving. I'm so sorry. We could do that if we work together. Yeah. And, if we work together, we could, really find a way. It's about communication too. There's still, and we're talking about farm to table products as well, right? So in cannabis, that too, the cannabis yields for a higher dollar. With the smaller grow, with the micro grows, it actually yields a higher dollar because if it's more of a farm to table type aspect. Because if it's more farm to table, that's why it yields more money, because there's more time taken into growing. It's not produced at a massive scale. So our craft growers here, they get a higher dollar for their cannabis, as they should, because it's a craft grow. Same with the restaurant. That's a craft grow, farm to table. You're not, and unfortunately, it's a rare occurrence where you see that farm to table restaurant type of restaurant, where I think it should be more of the common. It should be integrated into the common, and it should just be a part of, yes, this food came from this farm right here, and restaurants should do a more farm to table. We're seeing an increase of a lot of that, and I just hope it keeps, heading in that direction.
Oh, absolutely. Let's circle back to, integration at a young age. Now, I was raised that, drugs are bad, the whole DARE regime, the war on drugs, all of that. That was very prominent in my life. And so I grew up thinking that if I ever smoked a fatty, I'm going to get taken away from my parents and the whole nine, which it's the exact opposite, but, we'll talk about that later. But before that, let's say around the return to normalcy, okay? This is after World War, I believe World War I, 1920s area, okay? The same shit was happening. You had the Spanish flu, so there's a pandemic. There's a war going on. I mean, there really wasn't a war going on, but there is a war. There's always wars going on. There's the same type of shit happening back in the 1920s. And then out of that, instead of becoming, necessary and essential in this pandemic like cannabis did now 100 years later, back then, they made it illegal for whatever reason, whether it goes the plastic industry, the paper industry, doesn't matter where you get it from. The point is the fact that there was a smear campaign, it became illegal across the world. Now, let's say that our return to normalcy, okay, instead of just being, very calm and complacent about it, we actually create a revolution of science, a revolution of healing, a clinic, if you will. and start spreading the word about this, which is why the advocacy of this is so important, because we fucked up back in the 1920s. You understand? Imagine what the world would be like in the last 100 years had we actually said, you know what, that actually is essential.
Well, imagine where we would be. I mean, if you think about it, really prohibition started because we wanted to increase tobacco, alcohol, pharmaceutical, and DuPont plastics. That's the truth. And so we convinced people that by fear-mongering that this was a bad, and that cannabis was part of, if you smoked cannabis, you were the same as a heroin intravenous drug user. That was the same, and there's no really comparison, because our food sources, our animals used to eat hemp, so our food sources contained hemp. So that's why our longevity of our elders, like grandparents or whatnot, they received hemp in their food source. So they were obviously very much healthier than our generation. Right now, with what we're doing with our food sources and how we've done that, now we're getting back to saying, and I believe the only reason legalization has come is because the government realized how much money they were losing on the black market. I don't really necessarily feel it was a move for the improvement of, for the betterment of humanity, which I feel it is. I feel it obviously came down to
the feeling of that fiber. You know what I'm saying? Exactly.
Again, but I'm happy because sure, they can have that mindset of the money, but I'm in the mindset of people. So the people will always win. I believe this time the movement's getting too big. The movements are getting too big on anything. Like, I'm so happy with all the social equity that's coming up with the BIPOC community. I'm happy with all the equality that's coming. I think we're finally saying, no, we're not going to allow this anymore. And the more people that do that, I think your federal legalization will come soon. As soon as the government figures out how they'll make the most amount of money on it, the legalization, that's when you'll see federal legalization. They just haven't found out how they're going to benefit the most from the dollar amount, and that's when you'll see, I feel that will come along.
It blows my mind to think back, the whole reefer madness bullshit, in the United States. It blows my mind to we're not even 200 years old yet. We're not even 300 years old. But the Egyptians who were insanely cannabis friendly. There's images that the United States has blurred out or erased or cropped. So thanks for, fucking with my history and teaching me the wrong shit. But there's cannabis leaves all over their shit because they were cannabis friendly. They ruled for 3,000 years? They did something right. You know what I mean? And more to my point, they found cannabis while digging up mummies and things like that. So it's like, come on, man.
They buried
learn from them.
In the tombs with a lot of people. They also had more of like a tomb area, not where that you were buried in, but more of a way that you could go in and treat with different plant-based formulas. So cannabis often included in a lot of those formulas. And right now, our formulations department, our main formulator is Egyptian. And why is he Egyptian?
Nice.
Is because he knows the old school plants that interact with cannabis. He knows the oils, everything that would be required to get back to the basics. I call it getting back to the basics. And I don't think there's anything wrong with getting back to basics. Let's cut a lot of this crap out that we don't need. And let's just start getting back to some of the basics. And I feel like getting plant-based pharmacies where there's I've seen lineups where there's plant-based pharmacies and then there's regular pharmacies. There's a lineup at the plant-based pharmacy. There's not at the pill pharmacy. So people are starting to become aware. They're starting to see that they have a choice. And that's really what I advocate for, is the choice. The choice is right now we don't have coverage, benefit coverage for people who are social and economically discriminated against. I feel there's not a choice. They only get the methadone. There's not the cannabis or the methadone. There's no coverage for the cannabis, so the cost is too expensive. So therefore, they have to retract to the pills or the methadone because the cost is too high. And, where I've advocated for that for many years, I just want the choice. I want the fair choice. Never mind the cost. Would you prefer cannabis or pills? And you can make the choice yourself. Not we're just going to force pills down your throat and not give you the option for plant-based medicine. That's mainly my message. is really advocating for the choice of it.
I love it. I love it. And that's why, like, when I reached out, you know, or when you reached out to me and vice versa, how when we met, we just clicked because I was like, I'm right there with it. And it makes so much sense to me, you understand? Because here's the thing. If it makes you feel, cannabis isn't bad, regardless of how it makes you feel. No one has ever died from cannabis, ever. I'm going to repeat that. Ever. However, I've lost 3 friends to pill addictions that the doctors wrote them scripts for.
Exactly.
That's just me. That's just me.
You know, I have kids that are 27 and 30 and they've lost friends, or, you know, I'll hear about a friend that they went to high school with. And I feel it's so unfortunate that that beast of addiction or that with the opiate problem, that just doesn't target anybody in particular. That's your mom, your sister, your cousin, your brother. So it's a worldwide epidemic. And I've worked at the overdose injection sites in Vancouver. I've put cannabis there to see what would people do, pick the cannabis or the clean heroin. And what do? They pick the cannabis every time over the heroin if they're given the choice. So we need to look at those things. We need to address those. And we need to start getting more access to people who desperately need it.
So let's talk about that right there. Let's talk about the consumer for one moment, if you don't mind, okay?
Sure.
So there's a study that came out. It was with, I believe, Buffalo, New York, and U of M, University of Michigan. It was a study. It was a cannabis consumer cannabinoid knowledge lacking. That was their study. Okay. So when they asked, you know, the milligram amounts that they consider to be effective doses of THC and CBD, the majority opted to, you know, tick the box or click the box indicating, I don't know. I think that proves that there is not enough research or information given to the person to give them that choice. Fact.
And what happened was when I was working in the clinics, essentially why I created the college program I did was because when I was working in the clinics with the nurses, their time was being consumed with family members asking about cannabis. Everyone wanted to know. You're only allowed to give a 15-minute education session per patient. My nurses were in there for half an hour, 45 minutes. I thought, oh my goodness, how can I help these people? How can we know quicker? And so I created the first college program with Durham, like I explained to you. And, you know, the first week, the first time we ran the program, my 10 nurses from my employment place where I worked at the time were my students. By the 3rd weekend, we were at full enrollment, 80 online and 80 in school. So that told me
that's gnarly.
That's why we need to educate people. And it just became it was supposed to be only offered once a month. We started offering it every other weekend and then every weekend because we couldn't facilitate the amount of people that were signing up. That sent the message loud and clear to everyone at that point. Everyone wants to know, how do we reach the most amount of people in the most effective way? So having the college course, learning about cannabis, they built 9 other educational platforms off of that one original platform. So we're getting there. We're slowly starting to come around and understand the importance of educating and training and advocating, and we're getting there. And I'm happy to say we're getting there.
You know, and I can't commend you, you know, enough for that. Thank you. You're kind of setting the precedent for people such as myself that are new to this. You know, I'm very new, but at the same time, I've taken it, you know, in the best way that I know. How do I mix, you know, cannabis, this thing that saved my life, you know, gave me my life back? How do I give back to this? Well, I put it in food. Wait a minute. And then I learned about terpenes and how terpenes and cannabinoids and the endocannabinoid system, like, and then I found, so this article that I was reading, it says that they don't know the proper dosage. That's just it. I figured it out. You understand? I figured it out based off of terpenes and what they do and how they affect you. You understand? Now, what most people don't know, and this is part of the cookbook that I'm coming out with, is, okay, there's these things in terpenes and flavors and everything that we've been eating, okay? We just haven't, you're so used to it that it's like, imagine being punched in the arm continuously for a year. Yeah, you're going to bruise. Yeah, you're going to callus. Yeah, it's going to suck, but eventually you're just going to get used to it and ignore it. It's like breathing. It's an involuntary reaction. We don't know what we're eating and why. That's my point, y'all. Avocation for not only our food, and getting back to our roots and learning what's good for us, you know, because like you said in the beginning of the show, we're not getting the proper vitamins. Like when you buy a vitamin, how do you know there's 250 milligrams in it? You don't. You're taking their word for it, and it could just be sugar pills.
But what you do know, if you take your own honey and take some hemp oil, you know exactly what you're getting there. So
exactly.
I use honey as my daily vitamin every day, just a spoonful, a tip on the spoon under the tongue, and a spoonful of hemp oil. Any human being could benefit from that alone. Let's not forget about cannabis. Leave all that out. Let's just put some hemp oil and honey in your life and start there and start to learn. People would feel better just receiving that protein into their body right away. So it's just getting the message and trying to, you know, the stigmatism is so attached. Before, my mom would, you know, make fun of me. She would tell her friends, like,
right,
you know, staying in the corner, and, you know, she'd be like, oh, and my mom accepted it because she loved me. Well, she wasn't happy about it, I'll tell you that.
Right.
But now she'll say, can you get me a vape pen? I want to try a vape.
Oh, your mom and my mom would have got along great because
cookies, and I'm like, wait, what? So I'm glad that, you know, we made progress even with the older generation.
Right.
The younger generation, when I see them involved in the cannabis space, I've seen them in the retail level, I've seen them at the LP level. They always come up and they're just happy to be in this time and place with us because they've grown up now, 19 or 20 years old, that this is total acceptance. So I think we have a whole new generation of people. Yeah, they're just not putting up with it anymore. They're not. They're not putting up with that. I think as a human race, we've gotten quite a bit better. And I still send the message that cannabis is for the betterment of humanity. It really actually is for the betterment of humanity.
Absolutely. Let's circle back to you talking about hemp oil and honey. Now, I can tell you, and you're going to love this. I love that you brought this up. I can tell you without a doubt that honey can help your allergies if you use local honey. That's key. I didn't believe it, believe it. Ha, terrible, moving on. But then eventually I tried it. I was like, I'm going to do it till they shut up. And lo and behold, it does work. Okay. So then I was like, well, I wonder though, if I make a tincture out of, you know, add this to a tincture. And so I did. This is my own personal tincture. You understand? I make my own personal tincture.
Way to go.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I do 1 milliliter of honey, and I dose that out per bottle, and then I do the rest of the bottle, and I shake it. So when I do one full, and this one's obviously empty, but you can see the clarity. You can see the honey in it. You know what I'm saying? You can see the oils.
That's what your body needs. Exactly.
And I've noticed that I've gotten there's more energy that I get from honey than I do a cup of coffee.
Good. That's
you know, and so and weirdly enough, that tincture recipe is going to be in my cookbook as well, because I want people to heal from this. That's the whole point of this. You know, we have to understand that the earth is trying to actually heal us. You know, we've done so much damage to the earth over the last just 100 years of farming and bastardized the whole concept, and we can fix it. Seriously, no bullshit inside of a year.
We can fix it if we all work together. Now that's a whole other problem, and you know, getting people to understand and work together and getting the message out there. That's why I'm happy to have these opportunities with you and be able to speak about it and hopefully get the message out there that, you know, and I always say to people, you know, no problem. I'll answer any questions for anyone, anytime, whatever information I can share with people. And, you know, I think like just continuing on with education and talking to people again, the takeaway from any person I speak to, if they're hesitant about cannabis, get them to try honey and hemp oil. That's it. And I don't know what else you put in your tincture. You put honey and what else?
It's just, so what I do is I go through and I use coconut oil, so MCT oil, and that's how I pull the THC from the flower product itself.
Nice. So
I
good. You're
decarbonate the whole nice.
Good for you. I'm happy for you.
It's awesome because, like, thanks to the guys at Magical Butter Machine, they may or may not have given your boy one of them, and I may or may not have come up with an entire cookbook. So
I may or may happy to be here that because I will send you a picture of me and the Magical Butter guy in Berlin together. I have pictures of me and the Magic Butter all over the place where I've met him. And the magic butter kit, we even sold those in the medical clinic. We sell them in recreational medical. I push the magic butter everywhere I go. I honestly commend you. If I cannot wait for your cookbook. Yeah, I will promote that and get that out there. Congratulations, because
thank you.
That's a really good way to communicate with people is through cookbooks. I don't like to cook, but I would buy your cookbook to try it, just to be interested, as a consumer, to try it. Sorry, my phone fell down.
You're
but
all right.
I definitely would love that. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Well, let's make sure that you get one of the first copies. I don't want it to be hard copy. I'm a bibliophile myself, and some books, it's just weird. Depending on the book, I don't want a huge cookbook. I want it, just to be, if you want to throw it in your bag, like if you're a chef and you want to try one out at your restaurant, take it, put it in your bag. I want it to be like, like the size of my journal. You know what I'm saying? Like seriously, like
gift. It's a perfect gift as well to share with others.
Oh yeah, and it's interesting because here on Valentine's Day, I'm actually working with a local restaurant. Well, not local, but local here, local-ish. It's in Detroit. It's about an hour from me, but I'm working with them to. I did a Delta 8 infused chocolate sauce. Yeah.
What? Delta 8? What are you talking about over there in Michigan with your Delta 8? Good for you.
Delta 8 is amazing, and I just so happen to be one of our sponsors here. Crystalline CBD. They also have a company that's Delta 8 Savvy. Yeah, Delta 8 Savvy actually provides me with the Delta 8 distillate, and they bring me the clientele and stuff like that. So it all works out great. The consumers love it. It works out good for everyone. Not to mention, like, I get to taste test it before I send it out.
Well, and Delta 8 is not legal in Canada so much. It's under they put it under the same as Delta 9. I was trying to sneak through the Delta 8 loophole, but didn't really fall in my favor because they caught on to it. But I love Delta 8, but it's not legal here, and it's legal-ish. I think you can put it in your. Is it completely legal in the U.S.?
Yes and no. So on the majority of the states, and here's the thing with marijuana, teetering whether it's going to be federally legal or not. We're teasing at you got one side that says they want to do it, the other side says it's all about money. Okay, so that's really what it comes down to. Some people want it, some people don't. It is what it is. But certain states, it's legal because it's it's like 0.03% THC or 0.3%. I forget which number, but it's not. It's non-psychoactive. You still get the ensemble effect. You still feel high, but it's non-psychoactive, such as it's Delta 9. Okay. That being said, some states flip-flop. Like 1 year it'll be legal in Michigan, the next year it's not. So you really need to watch the verbiage, and they're watching it like a hawk. But the cool thing is I believe in Michigan that Delta 8 is under the hemp farming bill, not anything cannabis or anything related. Why the two are separated, I don't know. But at the same time, I'm not really mad at it because as of right now, Delta 8 is 100% legal in the state of Michigan.
So they're isolating the Delta 8 out of the hemp, and that's why it's falling under the Hemp Act.
That would make sense.
Yeah. So they're isolating that Delta 8 specifically from hemp, and so it's falling under the Hemp Act. Our Industrial Hemp Act in Canada is a little bit different. I mean, you can grow the CBD hemp on the farm, but once it's transported and taken to a facility to be processed, it then becomes a cannabis sativa plant. So that's a bit different than in the United States where you can buy CBD anywhere. It makes it a little bit more difficult for access. Now with the rec stores, you can buy the CBD in the rec stores and it's available medically, but not in the same way, unfortunately, in Canada. Now I hope the restrictions are going to let up a little bit this year, and we're going to hopefully be able to loosen up the chokehold on the CBD, but they kept it like that in Canada. And it's easier, I think, to set the law really high and then bring it down, as opposed to how you guys just did it like this. And now you're going to have to go up, and the FDA is going to be involved soon with you guys. Oh, yeah. And I know for a fact that the FDA is going to start being involved in CBD hemp. Why? Because, again, the government still has to take this, right? They still have to get this. And so they have to figure it out. Our government figured out if we just let it go and be a nutraceutical without regulation or control on it, then it's going to be hard to take back that control once it's given out. So we held back all, and now we're just going to start to give out little bits at a time as they see fit. As you know, I still think CBD should be regulated in some form. I don't think it's fair not to have lab testing on products. I don't think it's fair not to be able to have accountability from seed to sale. I don't think, and I think that there has to be a happy medium. Right now, our countries are on both sides. We're federally legal. CBD is regulated by the government. You guys are not federally legal, and your CBD is unregulated. So, but North America standards, the U.S. usually follows Canada, to my understanding. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting year, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons that we do, follow the U.S. or the Canadian, it's because we're just kind of right. What's up, Daba? We're right there. We do a lot of trade with you. Someone was saying hi. And with Michigan, it's interesting because we actually accept Canadian currency here. So if you walk in with loonies or toonies, we're gonna take it. Whether they exchange it at a bank, it's crazy. And the farther north you go to towards the UP, the more Canadian everybody becomes, and it's interesting. Well, it's because, you hear a lot, you hear a boot, you hear all of those social nomenclatures that our amazing apologetic Canadians have.
We're so sorry for everything.
Exactly. And so
everything. Yeah. I live on the Buffalo border, the Niagara Falls, New York, Niagara Falls, Canadian border. So I used to be in the States quite a bit. Just for my general life, shopping, whatnot. Mm-hmm. And I really find this border closure, it's actually quicker for us to, we see a lot of Americans come over to get to Detroit. It's actually quicker to go through Canada. So a lot of people travel through New York State, come through Canada to get over to Detroit. It's a lot quicker. I think it takes over an hour off coming through Canada to get to Detroit. So we do have a lot of traveling that comes through. And what I did like when this first happened, I have a lot of friends and family in the U.S. They'd come over to one of the OCS stores, that would have set up, and they could actually purchase cannabis there. New York State is one of the worst states for anything. So for them to be able to come over, purchase weed, and consume in Canada, they really thought that was amazing. And I think we're a little bit out yet from New York State. I hope not. I hope we're starting to make some progress, but there's a lot of states where we're not there. We're not there.
Not yet. And, and that's the thing. We're a lot farther along now than we were 20 years ago, and that's progress. And that's what people have to understand, not just, business-wise, law-wise, but mentally. Progress is progress no matter the speed. It's going to happen when it's going to happen, and it can't happen any other way. You understand? That's something that people need to just accept nowadays, especially with COVID and everything like that going on. A lot of people that I know professionally have lost their jobs and have turned to cannabis and then turned around and started growing cannabis. And now they're making a triple, a paycheck now. You know what I'm saying? They're growing it. It's insane.
Amazing. I love that. Exactly. I love to hear those stories. I love to hear how cannabis I know a lot of people lost their livelihood, or their incomes went down during COVID. And honestly, at least what I could say is that, we were still harvesting, we were still growing. That was one thing. It was so safe to be out on the farm. The social distancing in the summer was amazing. I could be in a whole acreage by myself. We had 17 zones, over almost 500 acres. So we could really spread everyone out, be safe, and really farm safely. So that was a good, for me, that was a good experience, knowing that even though things were bad, farming could still pull it through for everyone. So it was good to be out on the farm. I hope to get back out there this year. I'm not sure it's going to happen yet, but hey,
something to work towards.
Of course, yeah, and it's a safer work environment as well, right, for people. Mm-hmm. So, I was happy to be out there all year.
Exactly. And so one thing that I did want to touch on a little bit ago was accountability for businesses. Okay. So one of the reasons that the restaurant industry has a high turnover rate of cooks and the like is because nobody can afford to live on the wages that you're paying those people in your restaurants. Period. I'm sorry. You show me anybody that can make less than $30 an hour in the United States of America that can afford to live. And I'll just call you a piece of shit because it can't happen. Everything is going up. Even the prices on your menus are going up. And you say it's because of whatever trends or whatever supply and demand and all this food and stuff, when really you're just lining your pockets. Okay. I've been this chef in the situation where you're like, no, but I only want to pay him this. I'm like, yeah, but minimum wage is this. They're like, well, we'll figure it out. That's not okay. You understand? That's not okay. When you start fucking with my money, now we got an issue. You understand? Because if I have to have a side hustle and I can't devote my life to the art and craft that you're paying me to do, now we got a problem. You know, and so it goes back to that, you know. Listen, people on unemployment in Michigan and the United States were making more on unemployment than they were at their jobs. I'm going to repeat that. They were making more on unemployment than they were working. Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, so now I see all these ads for like, yo, now hiring, everything's opening back up. Hang on a second. President Biden here, just made federal minimum wage $15 an hour. When it goes into effect, I'm not sure, but that's just, it's gonna, you understand? Yeah. You still have people out there poaching people going, yo, I need a cook, 50 hours a week plus, you know, full-time, $11 an hour. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. It's a fucking pandemic right now. Are you kidding me?
Right.
You want people to go out there and potentially catch COVID, maybe for the second time or whatever have you, for $11 an hour. Nah, man, I'm going to chill and just grow weed and suck my unemployment if I have to. My point is, if you can't afford to pay people a living fucking wage, which, by the way, $15 an hour is half of what it should be, but we ain't ready to have that conversation yet. If you can't pay people the amount that they're worth, you should not be in business.
Correct. I totally believe that 1,000%. I tell all employees, and I mean, that's realistically, I've had the same business partners since I've been in this industry. I've worked with the same, 5 people. And
that says something. That says something.
And why we all work together is because, we respect and appreciate the fact that, we all have to work towards something. I don't know if you saw the door open. That was one of my employees I haven't seen in a week. He found out I was here. He didn't know what I was doing. And he just rushed in because he wanted to give me a hug because I haven't seen him for so long. And I was like, wow, he was just so excited that I was here. Right. And I was happy to like see him for a minute. So, and I just wanted to say that appreciating and respecting people that you work with and acknowledging what they're doing for your company and sharing in those profits and offering people. I mean, it doesn't take a lot to incentivize people. If you treat them kindly, if you're aware of their, responsibilities, and sometimes in their home life, and we try to adjust schedules. We like to be a social responsible employer where we could at least say, people are human. We all have lives and we all need to survive. And I don't know about you, but when my lights are on at home and there's food in the fridge and everyone's happy, I can work better and I'm more productive because I'm not stressed out in the fact. Now, what you see with a $15 an hour minimum wage increase, that happened in Canada. And McDonald's started replacing people with boards, tap boards. They don't charge $15 an hour, those tap boards.
No, they don't.
So instead of having a customer person at the counter now, you get to walk up to the menu board and you have no human interaction. And that's the other problem is we're trying to decrease the human interaction with people and try to put up, some type of walls. So we're not communicating properly. I feel that's not right with technology. And I feel, again, getting back to more basics. What's wrong with being nice to people? What's wrong with treating people nice that work for you, that are making money for you? What's wrong with that? And if you're a social responsible employer, you get that. And you don't have to explain that to anyone. And those who are good workers come and follow because they want to be part of it. And that's what I like to see. When someone hasn't seen me for a week, they're trying to bust down the door to say hello.
I love it.
And I love that. And so that's what we need to do. And I also say, like, what sometimes the universe shows us people, what people are doing from your past. So you can kind of see how you've grown. Those who were once like frequently a match with me energetically, they now seem like such a million miles away. And that's why I feel that evolution and growth is really such a beautiful thing, because that's the way it is sometimes. And, you're evolving and growing if this energy is a million miles away from you. And, and sometimes it just shows you like what you've done and how far you've come. So energy is a big thing with us too,
Oh
positive
yeah.
energy. We keep everything, moving forward, and we like to really promote that we're respectful, we're kind to people, we appreciate them, and we want them to work. We want them to come. Everyone that I work with, we all want to go to work together. We
Mm-hmm.
all want to show up. We all want to produce. We all want to figure out. And usually cannabis people are like-minded, and they
Yeah.
really care about people in the community. And so that's really nice about the cannabis community, is that once you've had an interaction with the plant, whether it's with a family member or yourself, you then become in tune with really what's going on. And I think that you grow and develop and evolve like that. So I'm happy to say that, I've had personal experiences, you've had personal experiences with the plant, and that's how you've gotten to learn yourself.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. I think it's time that we bring back the passion for both cooking and cannabis, really, because they walk hand in hand. They walk hand in hand. They do. And we could only do this through appreciation, such as you said. That's what I say. Yo, be appreciative. Yo, what fucking happened to chivalry? You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't we do these certain things? So it's kind of like we need to look at those stigmas created around not just cannabis, but everything else, and kind of look at them like, well, are they really, necessary, and things like that. It's no longer about where we've been that's important. We need to learn from that, yes, but it's more about where you're headed. And more so, exactly, and more so how far you've come after they said you couldn't.
Exactly. And I always try to draw strength, when I have, interaction, and, not in life, everything doesn't go well all the time. I feel, once you put boundaries up with people, or, you have to start charging money for your services, all of a sudden things become a little bit different. Then there's problems. And so that's when I love to learn and grow, because that energy there from negativity, I'll always turn it positive and grow and be better from it and stronger every day. So that's the best thing about the cannabis helps with the medication of that, with your mind, and putting your body and your mind right to be able to bring this plant to other people and educate them, right? So that's, and we really uplift each other in this community, and that's really one thing I like a lot as well.
Absolutely. And again, I can't thank you, enough for coming on. It's good to meet somebody that's got that same energy, that same vibe. That's we talk about it, we use it loosely, but it's actually the truth, and at this point in my career, and it's very, very short in the cannabis sector. I mean, let's face it, I know the metric system very well. I've known it since high school, okay? But instead of making tie-dye brownies that just go, oh, and they blast you, I'm using those to medicate, and I'm finding that, the dosage and the terpenes and things, I can manipulate how I heal. Y'all, you can manipulate how you heal. First and foremost, figure out what you're trying to heal. Secondly, find out what terpenes do that, and then dose appropriately. So it's I'm no longer, looking for an ashtray for my bad habits and a shot glass for my sins. I'm not doing that anymore, y'all. I don't need those things. Literally, I'll just take a dab, and a dab will do you. That's really what it is. But Catherine, I can't thank you enough for having you on the show today. Seriously, thank you for all of your work. It was amazing. I'm sure, we'll work together here soon.
I love that.
I have so many questions for you, but unfortunately we ran out of time. You know what? Let's have you back. You know what I'm saying? Let's definitely have you back if you'll have it, and we'll get into that stuff. You know what I mean?
I'd love that. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. All right, y'all.
Bye.
Here we go again. It's the end of the Deliciously Dope's Daily Chronicles. That was the amazing KATHARINE Thomas. Oh my God, pay attention to everything that she's doing, because it's seriously starting from the ground up, y'all. But I'm your boy, Chef Rodney 117. My tokers, jokers, and smokers. I'll see y'all next Tuesday. Peace.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.